I'll give you a little intro, and then I'll let you explain a little bit about yourself.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. There it is. And making it public. So
Woohoo!
now we're gonna watch the comments fly in, and there's gonna be lots of hooting and hollering from the peanut gallery. I don't know. I think you can obviously see that now, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing this all the time now. We're cranking out these live, super entertaining, super interesting episodes of Struggling with Sozio. And tonight, once again, prime time. You're not doing anything else, and thank you for tuning in. You're not doing anything else. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm joined by the president of wrestling, Mr. Phil Stamper. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, as
I did
always.
not. I did not expect the green hair.
Well, I posted a lot of pictures on the Facey Space, but I am a graphic artist, so I can understand how you would assume that it's just pretensies. But nah, it's
That's
for it's for realsies, baby.
that's exactly what I thought you did. I was like, oh, he just he graphic design tricks.
Nah, mostly everything else, the clown makeup and so on for sure. But the hair's for real, and it's just like from here down. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
the top is still brunette, but my girlfriend hooked me up with some green highlights and sort
It's
of
all CGI. It's all CGI.
right. This is all on the MCU budget.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be one of the next Aqua creatures and shit. But so I've been out of the game for a minute since 2016. How long have you been the president of wrestling?
I feel like you left, and somehow there was this void.
For,
Does it
for,
feel?
for for a giant gaping asshole? Is that what the world needed?
Maybe that's exactly what happened.
I think.
And then I became president of wrestling.
No, was it self-proclaimed? Was there an election?
I mean, is there any? I mean, is there any doubt? I mean, there's not really competition for it.
No, I wouldn't say so. But yeah, I just was curious because I saw that was part of your moniker now. And last I checked, you were maybe just governor of wrestling, and here you are, president of wrestling now.
I work my way up. I mean, if you think of about wrestling, and you're like, who's the guy that like knows everybody? The guy that like, oh look, he has his hands in all these places.
Glad handing everybody, definitely making moves behind the scenes, lying, definitely, behind, double talking.
I don't have initials for my first name.
This is true. This is true. Hey,
It is what it is.
hey,
I'm sure we'll get there at some point.
which initials do you mean? Vicky. What, like, similar to that? Like, what those people do? What those people are called?
Kind of. It's like a whole different kind of person.
Whole different type of shithead.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you and I spoke about earlier that I know I wanted to make sure we covered everything that
Well, I think the last time I remember your hair being this long, I saw you get it cut off by Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
this is true, and that was 2007. I want to say it was like, you don't forget shit like that. So I want to say it was June, and yeah, it was PWS up in like North Jersey at whatever the hell that famous venue was where I think they shot some of the wrestler at, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Yeah, whatever that venue is there. And long story short, I was booked to wrestle Brutus Beefcake. He couldn't make it. They turned it into me versus Coco Beware. And then close to the date, they were like, Brutus can still make it. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to wrestle Coco. And then afterwards, there's going to be a schmaz, and Brutus is going to come out and cut your hair still. And I was like, ew. Trying not to be too much of a mark.
Right. How could you say no? How
Yeah.
could you say no?
Yeah, I am now on the list of jabrones who have had their hair cut by Brutus Beefcake. Like, that's better than most, other people's career accomplishments. Like, oh, I got my master's in whatever. Bitch, I got my hair cut by Brutus Beefcake. Who cares? Oh, you got your masters and biology. Oh, whoa, look at you.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
um, yeah, dude. So everybody else can go screw. What is this wrestling calendar site you had mentioned?
I think for a long time I've been putting together independent wrestling dates, putting them
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
sending them out to sites and other wrestlers, and then
Making everybody aware of what the hell's going on.
right, because if there's one thing I'm decent at is marketing, and is the one thing that's also very bad in wrestling is marketing. And so it used to put that together, and then back around maybe around Thanksgiving, I saw a random post on Twitter about, hey, I'm putting together a wrestling calendar site, and so I reached out, and as we started to talk, he's this amazing like web designer, and it's like, well, I have this list, and so I sent it to him, and he's like, holy shit, I was just gonna do like Arizona and maybe some California folks.
Right.
And he's like, oh, there's a lot of places. So he found a way to like run the algorithm to like pull my list apart and to make it into a database, and off it went. So you can go to wrestlingcalendar.com. As my phone beeps in the background, wrestlingcalendar.com, and then you can search for events. There's ways to put in your own profile. There's ways, if you're a promoter, you can list yourself. I can add events for you. If you're searching for events, you can do a calendar range on you can do a calendar range. You can do a map search. You can do.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of functional options, and he's adding more and more things.
Dude, it's so crazy. Really cool. Like when roughly what year did you get into the business and start like traveling and doing stuff?
Long time ago. There was a day.
Was it back when they forged the ring, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. The first time that before there was welding, when they just put like poles in the ground and like tied ropes to them.
Yeah.
So I did run the Backyard Wrestling website in the day.
We'll say 15 years. We'll just say 15, just to be.
That's nice.
It's probably more. But we'll just say 15.
That's nice.
To be nice. No, the reason I asked that is because like I started in 2002 and probably started traveling in 2003. Mm-hmm. And boy, like just what you're talking about, and not to be like that old man in my day, I couldn't imagine this shit, but I couldn't, because we were driving around literally with printed out MapQuest directions, trying to get to Hellertown so I could be in like the Young Lions Cup 2 and 3. It's like
right,
and getting lost, and then having to literally go, okay, well, I went this way, that way, so now I got to go this way, this way, and find your way back to that road and go, okay, well, then if I missed it, now I got to do basic math here, go back to this, I
had the big print Walmart brand 2x3 foot road atlas.
Dude.
Like Rand McNally. I couldn't think of the name. Rand McNally.
Yeah. But like it's just, and now you can be like, oh, we drove too far. Well, hang on a sec. There's a show 5 more miles up. I could just zip.
Right.
Or at the very least, like, is there contact info for these places as well? Like to reach out to them, or
so basically, as I put in each promotion, I have to build it behind the scenes to put in all the contact information, but. So basically, as long as you click on it, if there's either a ticket link or a website link, it'll go to whatever it's linked to. You can put in event descriptions, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of ways through there you can find out information. And right now, because of COVID, it's like you better check the site before you go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't too keen on the business before, but this post-COVID wrestling. It's weird. I'm not gonna shit all over it, but it's just, understand that it's something different and that it is what it is, but it's still pro wrestling, but the theatrical sport of it, I guess, is gone now without a crowd. It's just not, it's dojo wars now. But
my heart.
$1 million dojo worth.
Right. And everybody's trying something a little bit different. I I am all ready for SummerSlam WWE with this whole new Thunderdome tryout. Was already trying to sell that same technology to be able to do meet and greet opportunities. So they were trying to get some revenue in on it too. So I'm waiting for them just to pivot to this is a purchase. This is an opportunity just to engage for free. It's a ticket price, which I can see more and more places kind of trying to do that kind of stuff. So,
and do you mean like the people that were at ringside there on the screens and whatnot?
Yeah,
like what? So besides having their face on the wall there, did they get something else?
There was an option. I was seeing it on some sites. There was an option where you could buy a meet and greet experience for like $150.
So it's like a FaceTime, probably, like with
that,
right.
So it's like, okay, maybe some people would do that. Like, I'm gonna pay you $100 for a ticket, but then I'm gonna get a meet and greet with Alexa Bliss.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think that's interesting, and I'm seeing that a lot. A lot of different mediums, a lot of different artists are doing things like that because obviously everything's different, and you can't do it the old-fashioned way. Right. A lot of comedians are some of my favorites. Tom Segura and Christina P., his wife. They have a really big podcast, and they can't tour, they can't do any comedy, so they did a live podcast and charged a paywall for it. So everybody's having to sort of get creative with how they're making money now, with I guess obviously a lot of Patreons, a lot of people putting up some OnlyFans out there.
Well,
hey,
right,
I
mean, if people are into it,
I don't want to let this hair go to waste now. This is
right,
but no, I get it. I understand what's going on as far as I don't, I thought, because I watched a little bit of SummerSlam. I typically watch nothing but the Wrestle Rock guys. Shout out to Rick Connor, Corey Castle, and Mark Kalbacher. They invited me to do a watch along last night, so I tuned in for a little bit and I watched it. And what I will say with those screens is they do a good job of making it look like there's a crowd there. The way the colors of the squares all mash up together, it looks like people and signs and stuff the way that people would in the background anyway. So the viewer experience on the television or whatever screen looks more like you're watching wrestling again,
a little bit,
instead of studio wrestling. But
it's still piped in sound, but at the same time, like it works, and in a way it might give a good opportunity to reset a little bit, because fans got to the point, especially WWE wanted to tell this story, and then fans were reacting at live events in this way, and so the story they were trying to tell wasn't matching up to the live audience's reaction. Now you can reset everybody and be like, this is the reaction we want.
Right.
So then in 9 months, when there's a vaccine available, now you can come back and be like, oh, I'm supposed to not like, I'm supposed to like, I'm supposed to feel this way, do this thing.
Yeah.
And you've been reset without having to force it down your throat.
Yeah, I mean, we could be hopeful about that. I still have a feeling that vocal minority in wrestling will overpower.
Absolutely, but
the chant hijackers of the world, those motherfuckers. But I don't know. I just think, good for places like Beyond and GCW and I guess what's the other one, ICW, that's been doing outdoor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If they're thriving still, good on them. I think it's weird. I just think it's got to be weird for the wrestlers performing out there with people all distanced, wearing masks and so on and so forth. I mean, it is what it is. I just think that if we don't get a vaccine soon, I don't know how much longer any company's going to last besides like maybe the big three, I don't see it happening.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of them will survive because they're not running. Well, some of them aren't running right now. They're taking that sort of breath.
Right.
Let's just hold in place, and then we'll come back in a few months.
Sure.
Or another year.
And I guess what I mean is they won't ever be able to come back because they won't ever particularly have the budget to follow proper protocol. Like if that makes any
Yeah,
sense, you
it
know,
does. It
the
does.
testing, because I from what I understand, and it's probably different state to state, everybody involved is having to get like COVID tests. You know, from the promoter to every performer, which
Yeah,
makes sense. Um,
it does. It's and like you said, it depends on the state, depends on what they're doing, how they're trying to cover it. I mean, I was on an event in West Virginia that's supposed to have a it's West Virginia, so that kind of leans into it. West Virginia had an event restriction, no more than 25 people, unless you were in a fire hall or it was for an outdoor sporting event. So some places went outside. Some places just made sure that if they were in a fire hall that they fit in as many people as they could. Like,
I don't understand the fire hall rule.
Right.
That doesn't make like.
Actually, it was fire hall, bingo hall, or outside. I'm like, yeah.
So 2,300 arena counts.
Right, I guess, because is it still an active bingo hall though?
It still has the spirit of a bingo hall, so
There you go.
I think that
It's haunted by somebody calling the numbers.
it's haunted by it's Frank Talent. It's
Right,
Frank
I was just thinking that.
It's definitely, if anybody would haunt that fucking place, it's definitely Frank Talent.
Come on, I said 069.
What pre-Pandy, how were things going for you in the biz?
They were going okay. I mean, it's weird how I started doing the president of wrestling thing and then became the general manager of like 6 different promotions. MCW, IWA East Coast, Legacy, Wrestling Revolver. I know I'm forgetting other ones that are out there in my brain. So I was staying pretty active with everything. And I was even making some headway with getting my own stuff together. I'm not saying I was like imminently about to go, boom, here we go. But for a long time, I've been trying to pull my shit together, and finally was like, oh wow, I can do this. I'm ready to go. Oh, I'll just wait.
I'm gonna have to wait this one out, guys. I guess.
And then especially because of my involvement with Revolver, was trying to figure out a way to create content that would be interesting that people hadn't seen necessarily, because we were doing what a lot of promotions were doing for Revolver specifically, like, oh, here's an old match, maybe here's a whole old show,
right?
And it's like, but it's old footage, and people are like, oh, we've seen it. Oh, yeah.
And is that still Sammy's thing? Is he still involved with that? Okay.
Yeah.
And where does he run? In Ohio
and Iowa primarily,
okay.
And then they're tied in typically to also doing a WrestleMania weekend event. So we were in that bunch of promotions that were getting ready to go down to Tampa,
right?
And then with
2
weeks to go, so 2 weeks before Mania, we were supposed to have an event in Iowa. Sammy had already driven out there with the ring and was setting it up. And then that day, the venue came in and said, actually, their lawyers came in and said, we're not going to, if you have an event and somebody gets sick and comes back and says, we're going to sue you, venue, because we got sick at one of your events, we are not going to defend you in court. And so event got canceled.
Wow. I don't know if do you count as a grease ball there, Phil? Because Zachary Harris, I don't know if you could see on your screen there, said, 2 of my favorite grease balls.
I mean, maybe I have a little bit of sheen on me right now. I don't know.
I mean, but what is your? Are you allowed to ask people's ethnic makeup anymore? Are you allowed to ask that question without somebody going, cancel him, fuck him?
Well, it's weird because I don't know if you've ever had this where it's like the word of mouth in your family is one thing, and then you get it checked, and you're like,
I don't know. There's a little pepper in that salt,
right? So I have a lot of German and a lot of Irish Middle English, but I grew up from my dad's side of the family being told my grandmother was 100% Native American, and it's like, well, but then the way the DNA travels that you get tested on, you get tested on your father's line and your mother's line, so it's like my father's mother my dad should have been represented, or she should have been represented my dad's DNA, but no Native American showed up. But then other relatives have traced back Native American origin. So it's like, well, what's going on here? And there might
So,
be something with like the Lumbee Indians, and
so
it gets really
who was that
complicated.
other liar? What was it? Elizabeth Warren said she was
Right,
Native American. Yeah, you
right.
guys. Yeah, is your last real last name Warren? Is that what it is? Is that what's going on here?
Different. Well, no, actually, I think it's the same party. So never mind. I mean, I didn't like use it for gain. I never.
Yeah, right. No, I'd say we don't like to talk about it or
Right.
anything like that. But no, I imagine that yourself and everyone else were probably at a lot of different levels when all this happened. You know, some people were on a steady incline, some people were coasting right along, and
Right.
now some people won't even have a chance to get going. It's just it's a real shame. I think it's even training right now is probably complicated.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how the hell can most companies even particularly do that safely?
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess it's really just a trust thing. Like, hey, everybody feeling good today? All right,
Mhm.
good. Because I can't imagine, DJ sprung for like the high quality thermometer. You know what I mean? Or like, there's no way that fat fuck came up off his wallet to get like a decent FDA approved
Right. Right.
to make sure everyone's being safe. But
So like I mean MCW itself has a pretty big venue that they double down as their training facility. And so, they do space everybody out. They do have the thermometers. They moved their training days. So it's Monday and Thursday, because even though they say it can take up to 2 weeks for asymptomatic symptoms to develop, on average, it takes about 72 hours. So they're like, well, if we spread it out and somebody feels sick, like then there's an indicator that could develop between the times we come in for training.
right.
I'm fortunate in my non-wrestling and acting life that I have to do a daily screening check. And then I'm also in a potential random sampling group that I can also be called in. And 2 weeks ago, I decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and get tested just to see. I've also have a weird stomach thing that I'm on an immunosuppressant medicine for. So it's like, maybe I should get checked.
So you didn't have COVID, but you do have AIDS.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's the
That doesn't kill anybody anymore, anyway.
not as much. Well, actually, I did just lose a friend to HIV a few months ago, but
And that's what we laugh at the pain here, folks.
right.
We laugh at the disaster on struggling with Sozio.
And I guess technically it was the cancer that killed him that was generated from the HIV.
Right. So I mean, what are we doing here?
Right. Wrestling. Yeah.
Finger, huzzah!
Right. Oh, wrestling.
Speaking out, yeah. Man, I'm glad. I'm sure a lot of people when the speaking out waves were coming, a lot of people had ran up on shore with their boogie boards and fucking hightailed it. Like, geez, I hope I don't get hit with one of these waves. I'm out of here.
Right.
But as long as you don't have nothing to hide, Phil. Looking at you.
Well, you said hide first, so that's where my brain just went that way. I mean,
Yeah, man. What was I'm looking at my list here. What was this other weird pandemic wrestling idea you had?
oh, that's where I was going. So like this whole idea I was having for a Revolver was that now I'm gonna not do for Revolver and do my own thing, is have different people shoot up their own vignettes from home. So like you could be in your space, I'd be in my space, film a vignette, but somehow I could link them together story-wise. And then there are people I know who are training, they have access to a ring or a space, and maybe then they film an empty building match or a cinematic kind of fight sequence thing, and then like you can string together a little mini-sode. Think of like Lucha Underground, but flip the amount of story in wrestling and like just make the story crazy, and then like, oh, we have a match. Like you might get something fun out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm piecing stuff together now. and might actually in about a month have something to show for it. So
I understand.
we'll
Sounds
see.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. What's the end goal exactly? What would you like to have sooner rather than later?
Content. Just people who commit to cutting promos and vignettes.
Dude,
And
it's
like,
hard, man. I'll tell you, like, and let me just say, I appreciate you setting aside the time to talk to me and be on the show, and because you know, even doing something like this during a time when most people are home, they're working from home, they can't really go anywhere. Ain't no movies to go see, not a lot of restaurants open, not a lot of bars, so not even really a lot of gyms or, you know, so unless you're just, you know, but I guess what I'm getting at is even getting people on here has been like pulling teeth sometimes.
yeah,
But I appreciate you answering the call the other day when I was looking for some guests, and a lot of people were chomping at the bit, so we rescheduled for today. When Joker says I'm in, you have to go with Joker. You have
right.
to, or
Yeah.
or he kills you. That's it. So I went with Joker. But
And I mean, I like your post about it that Bill is scarier than Joker, and it's very true.
dude, I mean, I don't like putting people's shit out there, but the last time I was at his home, it was a long time ago, several years. I saw this closet that had so much artillery, so much. So, and not just guns, but other things that will kill you so bad, so hard and so bad. You'll be
Yeah.
so dead so many times before you ever got through his door. It's like if you've seen the end of the new Rambo, Last Blood, Jesus fuck. It's about the same. It's about the same. And I mean this in the most respectful, polite way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
I'm not putting anything out there. And I mean, and if you don't know that, that shame on you. If you don't know that about him, it's really shame on you, not me. But I don't remember how we started talking about that.
Well, Joker, because you had him on last week, and he took
Oh,
he
yeah.
took the primetime spot.
Yeah, that's why. But no, there's people that will say that they're interested, or yeah, man, I'm
Yeah.
in, and I'm like, okay, and somewhere somebody flakes out, either on a text or a message, and I get it, Like it's not everybody else's priority to want to play armchair therapy time with me for the sake of creating content for me.
Right.
Because I think that's where what I was really talking about was creating content, and that's really what I've been trying to do as of late is just get these videos. I don't even like this shit. I hate that I have to do podcasts this way. I like to do it in person if possible.
Yeah.
Even if it means I got to travel a little bit. Like when I went and did Corvus, I went and stayed at his house, because it was 3 hours away. But I don't like having to do it this way, but I'm just doing it and I'm putting it up onto YouTube. Like I was saying earlier, one of my favorite comedians, Sam Tripoli, was just like, you got to get on YouTube, man. You got to get the content up. You got to do it regularly, at the very least weekly, if not multiple times a week. Just get shit up. It's the only way that you can really grow a following and accumulate a following, and also get into the algorithms and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it's tough.
I lucked out about I had been planning for a while to do some kind of interview thing, and kind of in the same way that you said, like I wanted to do it in person, and then it became harder and harder, even in person at events, to try to get it done. So I was like, I'll do this better streaming setup. I got all this stuff, and I was ready to go. Computer dies. Got a new computer. Month later, pandemic, and so it's like I have stuff to do streaming, and then nobody had anything they really were getting ready to put out. Like there was no people were like, I want to do an interview, but I don't have anything I'm promoting. There's no events coming.
Right.
And I was going to do a mixture of like comedians and artists and directors and people in wrestling. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not working on anything because no one's filming. No one's doing this. No one's doing that. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
it's hard. Yeah, it does these last few episodes and probably last couple months. It has been difficult at the end of the show when I go, promote your stuff. Promote anything you have coming up. Well,
Right.
nothing, but here's my socials. Follow me because, like you, I'm a person.
Awesome.
I'm really not special anymore because I can't do the thing that makes me special. So follow me, and it'll be a good time.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
Or
And
like you have to transition yourself into just being this bigger than life personality.
right, and I don't think I always successfully pull that off. I think a lot of times, like in wrestling, I may or may not only be as good as my opponent. There's people that can pull guys up or down, but I think I was somebody that was only usually as good as the guy I was working. You know what I mean? I could pull some guys up. Toward the end there, I got good at coaching, but you know, it's hard carrying around a wet sack of fucking potatoes around the ring. Sometimes you can only polish a turd so shiny. You know what I mean?
Why are names suddenly coming to my brain?
There's a couple. There's several. You know. You know what? I'll tell you what. His music is awesome, though. Like, come on.
Right, I know.
His music is awesome, and it was perfect for him. It was the perfect doomy type music. Very Vader, or not the wrestler, but like, Darth Vader, like very imperial, dark imperial.
Do you remember when he bought the matching pleather black, like, entrance gear to match Alexander James came back from Germany with it. He had Alexander James had like this all white pleather like entrance gear robe thing, and so DJ had to get one, but all in black that was like had metal studs on it.
Oh yeah, it became like this famously awful jacket because we would always steal it. There's about 1,000. There's 1,000 other pictures of other people wearing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Holding up the lariat, and I'm just ashamed I never actually like completely stole it. And there was a lot of things. I was there a few times over the last few years for different things, like when Lyle passed. I went back to do a Hall of Fame induction as well. And there was a few times I was like, I'm just going to steal this fucking world title because fuck DJ and also fuck like whoever at that time was champion, And it wasn't Gacy because I wouldn't do it if Gacy was champion.
Right.
It's probably like Mance Warner or one of these other fucking.
I do like Mance.
Okay.
I'm gonna give Mance a pass.
Okay. I guess he's probably a nice guy behind the scenes or something, or he's funny. Hey, guess what, everybody? I don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I think he obviously entertains everybody because he's popular and but also at the same time, there's also have been a lot of guys over the years that are just cool behind the scenes, so they also get a pass, and everybody likes him or whatever the fuck, or maybe he's got good weed or something. Give me a motherfucking break. And you know what? I think I'd be a little bit more lenient about some of today's wrestlers if they just got in shape. Just get in shape. Look like a wrestler. That's all. I get it. Everybody can get over, and if the fans cheer, it doesn't matter. Whatever. But just get in shape. It's disrespectful to all the wrestlers that, have done this for decades.
Right.
And that's my 2 cents. And that's my 2 cents on that. Oh,
what'd you knock over?
almost spilled something. Almost dropped a phone in a mug, which would have been a lot of curse words. I would have ended the stream right here and been like, "We gotta go," because I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Do you have any bookings coming up?
I do. September. Well, actually, I have something that's debuting on independentwrestling.tv on Wednesday night. Also a little bit of the cinematic feel. Camp Leapfrog. So if you are a follower of IWTV, come check that out on Wednesday night. On Saturday the 12th, I have IWA East Coast in Milton, West Virginia. Venue to possibly relocate due to COVID. but in that Charleston, Nitro, Milton area of West Virginia. But those are my only things I have coming up in the immediate short term. Updating, wrestlingcalendar.com, and that keeps me kind of busy, and just always trying to do stuff to keep myself out there.
Have you been able to just continue to do shoot work during all this?
Yeah, fortunately, yes. I've been very, very fortunate, and primarily from home. What was going to be the gaming streaming computer system has doubled down as a multiple platform office operation at times. So,
yeah, dude, same.
And again, because I was ready to do streaming, every time I walk into a Zoom meeting, I mean, I have green screens ready to go.
Sick. That's awesome. It looks like you have one of those super elitist ass gamer chairs too.
Honestly, I got it because my back was killing me in the broken ass office chair I had here first.
I definitely need a better chair. I have like a bullshit ass chair. Like you can't even see the back of it. Like it's one of those low bullshit ass chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to upgrade big time.
That was part of it. Like I was like, this is too low on my back. The right arm was like falling off. I think I finally broke it. I think I pushed up off the chair and it just like broke off from the metal plate at the bottom of the chair. So it's like, I'm going to get some new.
That being said, we need sponsors, folks. So, anyone that has tuned in or is planning on tuning in, hey, throw us a little jing. I don't really have a link or anything like that yet, but I'm going to set that up. DM me and we'll talk about my PayPal or Cash App. And I can get a new chair. Phil can get a different chair because the one he has is making me mad. If he had hair, I would give him a swirly right now for being a nerd. And, that's just me being a bully. What are you going to do about it? It's my fucking program. I swear on it, and I pick on my guests. What are they going to do about it? You're supposed to be upset, Phil. You're supposed to either be upset or try to razz me back, which is impossible. Which is fucking impossible. You should be like, hey, Gonzo, shut up.
I mean, you look like you're talking into a pumpkin.
It is. I decided to go with orange today.
I mean, and look, it matches my chair.
And who would have, you see, sometimes this simulation we're in, it just lines up weird like that.
Right.
Sometimes you just manifest things into real life. And I believe that.
What happens? Will the simulation just end, or is it only part of our, like, a set of consciousness that we have to go through?
What you mean, like when we die?
So, like, if this is a simulation, what happens when the simulation ends?
We're going deep. We're going deep into the murky waters. Now's the time to tune in.
Right.
Start over. What were you saying?
All right. So if this is a simulation, are we A, just another part of the simulation, or B, it's like our consciousness is part of this simulation, but we are somewhere else, or our consciousness is part of a larger other thing? I guess, like, which path do you go down?
Shit,
in the conversation of simulation.
Shit. If it's a simulation, chances are we are not actually like some sort of physical being outside of the simulation as well. Because that would mean that there's like trillions and trillions of beings that either are or have been in existence in whatever the real world is and not the simulation.
Right.
And guess what? That could be true because there could be an unfathomable gigantic place where that many people could exist, unlike Earth, which we believe to be finite because it's a sphere. So chances are, if this is a simulation, we're all just basically apps or programs, like kind of how it is in the Matrix, where there's like those deleted programs, like those twins and shit like that. There's the agents and so on and so forth. I really do think that some of us are plugged into the consciousness, and other people are, and you'll agree with me, because we encounter them probably every day. There's a lot of like non-playable characters too. There's just a lot of people that are just there to interact with, cause,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily make anything happen. They're just there to keep the party going. You know what I'm saying? And um, so I don't know. I think we are part of some gigantic collective consciousness, and we if again, this is a big if, this is a simulation. We come into this believing we're some sort of individual, living as an individual, but we're part of something bigger. Well, we're part of a united one thing. And maybe
Gotcha.
and maybe we're here to just try to learn that. And humanity's in trouble right now because we're about as far from that as we've ever been.
Mm.
In history, we're about as far from unity as we've ever been.
Yeah. Have you seen on Amazon Prime? There's a show called Upload.
I think perhaps I've come across it, but haven't seen it.
It's good, but it's sort of the opposite twist on that. It's sort of like, what if right before your death you can upload your consciousness to the cloud?
I've heard of such things.
It's fun. It's a really actually good show.
That's kind of like what Transcendence or Transcendent was.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting movie, but way too far out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's new stuff. Maybe there is, but I was into and am into Black Mirror. Those will ruin your fucking night. You watch a couple episodes of that. Have you seen Black Mirror?
A couple episodes, yeah.
It's like it's just a very modern twist on like the Twilight Zone to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of these like futuristic scenarios where obviously the technocracy has taken hold of society and culture and how we operate. And there's just a lot of scary things, man, that are really not that far off from where we're at now and where we're heading.
Right.
Did you happen to see the one where the people are pedaling the bikes?
I don't think I did.
Okay. I don't want to describe it again because I was just talking about it with Dave McCall, and anybody that does listen regularly will be like, "You just said this story. Shut up. God forbid you say it twice." But it's more or less just about in society, like everybody pedals these bikes for sort of credits. Very
Okay.
similar to the way that we do now. We just go to work to earn money to buy things and so on and so forth. But there's these channels where, it's just content to watch while you're on the bikes. Some of it is like this absurd sort of people gorging on food, which we watch now. Some of it is like pornography. Some of it is game shows and all this and that, sports. And you can like earn a chance to basically be on this American Idol type show where you can be on one of the shows and sort of stop pedaling the bike, and so it's very similar to where we're at now, where we're trying to get likes, subscribers, retweets, and if you get enough of them, you can quit your real job and you could just do this content creation bullshit, which is really what it is, which is,
Right.
which is, at the end of the day, if the difference between making it and being successful or not is subscribers and followers, it's really bullshit,
Have you ever seen on YouTube Raka Raka?
Rocka. Probably.
They do like stunt fights, and I think they even did an episode that became a commercial for the WWE that was like a lead into my brain's saying Royal Rumble for some reason, and they even had like Rey Mysterio jump off a ladder and frog splash somebody through a table. But super huge wrestling fans, and they're huge deathmatch wrestling marks. And they wanted to get involved with CZW, and guess who screwed that up? They have something like 20 million followers. But because of the belief of what can happen at that place, I tried to sell them on going to it with a different company, and they were like, no, we want that TOD, we want that. It's like, oh, sorry, not involved with them anymore. Bless you.
Yeah, that's the right move. I had asked Dave that when I spoke to him a few episodes ago, because he and Nate are now the head trainers at the school, and I just said, I don't want the same thing to happen to you guys as it did to me and some of my friends. And by that I mean you're too loyal to a place that's not loyal to you. And also in a time, yeah, ew, pew, 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 everybody gonna die. But in a time, it's hard way for um
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
in a time where you can get in some serious trouble for even being adjacent to offenders. We'll just say,
Right.
I just said it was risky to want to still be there, because they could definitely be successful elsewhere. Drive down the road to ROH and go to that school, because it's not like you guys are nobodies now. You guys can walk in anywhere and say, hey, can we train here? And even if you have to pay, do whatever you got to do. But I just want to see people that I really like advance their careers, and definitely don't stick around that fucking place.
Right. About a year ago, he was reaching out to me to come back and help, and all the BS promises that I've been promised before. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know. Think about it and get back to me. I was like, okay. And I'm at this event. I'm actually at IWA East Coast in West Virginia, and a friend of mine messages me who's at an event in Pennsylvania and is like, oh, DJ's here. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, let me guess, he crapped on everything. He's like, yep. But I was really surprised when he crapped on you, Phil. And I was like, what? And so I'm like, well, what did he say? And he tells me, and I'm like, I messaged DJ right away, and I'm like, fuck you, forget my number. I cut this 20-second in the car, don't ever let my name come out of your mouth promo. And then he calls me he doesn't call, because of course he won't call. He text messages and is like, what's going on, Phil? You obviously must have meant to send this to a different person. I was like, no, I'm sending this to you, DJ Markland. And he denied it. Well, I never talked to anybody. What do you mean I crapped on people? I was with these two people, didn't say anything. Your name never came up. It was like, my name not once ever came up in this evening. Well, no. And there was a particular phrasing of something that was said. And so it's like, well, he said, your name didn't come up tonight in a bad way. And I said, did my name recently come up in a bad way? He goes, yes, I said you looked like a no talent hack, sorry. And I was like, one, I don't know what looking like a no talent hack looks like. And I was like, but it's funny because you look like you are a no talent hack is what this person heard. And that's funny that I didn't tell you what this person said, and you repeated back to me exactly the same wording. And it was somebody never associated with CCW, no reason why that this magically would have appeared in the ether.
Right.
And it was like, put it this way, Deej, I was going to ask you for 20% of the company just even have me come back in the door, and it would hurt my reputation more to come back and work for you to try to help CZW out than it would do anything for me. So
that's and that's the smart way to look at it, because it just took me way too long in life, and certainly any type of show business, to realize that stuff you want, you have to take. Sometimes you have to do it without asking. Sometimes you have to be really selfish, and it's shitty if that's not who you are personally to try to become that. And I feel personally that that's something that I was never great at. I was never really good at being pushy. I was never good at asking for bookings or matches or things like that. But you really need to be. And had you gone back, that's how you would have needed to be. It would have just been like, oh, no, I brought the thing because we're doing that today. You know what I mean? I brought whatever the shtick is or something that you pitched. I have the donkey, Deej. We're doing the we're doing the donkey thing at ringside. Sorry, dude. Suck my dick. And that's how you would have had to have been. But I mean, honestly, I hate that I spend so much time talking about him and that. But it's okay because it's all in good shit. It's just I'm astounded that he is probably just going to try to run again and not acknowledge the fact that serious, basically felony claims were made against him.
Right. He'll just
Fuck
move
it,
past
just
it.
run. Yeah, just
Right.
keep your school open and run. You know, I feel bad for Quack a little bit, and I'll probably catch some heat for saying that. I don't care. I feel
I was
bad
about
for
to
the
say I
guy.
don't at all.
You
I'm
know,
like,
I feel bad for the dude, but he just up and closed his company, right? Like he's like, well, closing the doors, probably at least for now. He's always
right.
like somebody's gonna rise from the lava. Superman's gonna come back or whatever. Some sort of weird comic book fucking nerd thing. Uh so it'll
I'm
it'll be back, I'm sure. But at least he did the right thing, and he's like, we're done until
for now. Yeah. Right. Right.
until the ice age is
Well,
over.
he's already been in another interview being like, trying to like rebuild himself, and like it was like somebody came into the house and lit the house on fire. It's like
That's what he said.
it was something along that kind of analogy, and it's like, but you. It sounds like you lit the house on fire, and somebody kind of went, "Hey, look, the house is on fire." I, mm, I'm okay with.
And
I'm okay.
I mean,
I feel bad that if karma struck back at particular people, that other people had to get hurt along the way. That's what I feel bad about.
sure. I give him a little bit of room and leeway because I really enjoyed his rebuttal promo. I thought his rebuttal was great. I thought he presented himself well. And for that alone, the man is innocent. And there you have it, folks. Mike Quackenbush didn't do it. He has my endorsement.
I didn't like it.
I'm also sensationalizing this for comedy's sake a little bit.
Okay. I mean,
I did.
and
I liked it, but
wasn't
I'm
the-
not real. I don't support if he. I don't know what anybody did. Everything to
Right.
me is an allegation unless it can be proven.
Yeah.
And if he's guilty of anything, he deserves to be punished. That's how I feel about speaking out, any Me Too thing. I believe that it should, as opposed to believe all women, I believe the expression should be take all allegations seriously. And everyone who speaks out should have their allegation taken seriously, and ideally, hopefully, be able to prove their person guilty. Well, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I don't know, but
You didn't know. You said you didn't like his rebuttal.
I didn't. It felt a little bit too much like. Do you watch the reality shows now that it's like you're waiting to find out like who's going to be eliminated, and you're like, and Thomas, you. Commercial break. Come back. Have been eliminated. Like,
Do you think he was doing a little bit of that?
There was and you know what?
That's how he
was-
speaks, man.
Exactly. That's how he speaks. He was trying to present himself in a particular way. It just came off a little disingenuine,
Robotic, very robotic.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
can tell you, I don't know how much you worked with Chikara or any of his offshoot products when Chikara was gone for a little while. All those wrestling is. But I've spent a lot of time with Mike, and I worked with him a lot. I worked for him a lot. And even his pre-show talks, he's a robot, man. He's a Martian, and that's how he talks. Like he would write about 5 to 10 minute, basically stand up that we would all enjoy for his pre-show speech. He didn't even try to do it. He was just hilarious, and some of the things that he would say off the cuff or would come to mind were just Martian level hilarious. So I don't think that there was any way that especially in that sort of presentation, that subject matter where we're going to get anything less than full-on autistic robot Mike Quackenbush. But I enjoyed it because I'm telling you, I was one of the assholes in the locker room, always laughing, popping for everything he said. But yeah, man, that's just who he is. And what was his go-to line? I take full responsibility, and I am sorry. And see, I believe it. It was thorough.
Yeah.
It was genuine. Well, I'm glad I didn't have to make any apology videos, and maybe I will after this airs on. Maybe after this airs on YouTube, I might have to.
What would you make apologies for? Let me stop.
Siding with Mike Quackenbush on the speaking out movement.
I'm like, should we roll up the scroll? Things that Sozio should make an apology for in his life.
Yeah. Said the F word in the middle of the ring several times in Voorhees. That's not good. Not really going to look good if I really try to run for president ever. Jesus Christ. The digital trail I've left. Let's talk about that real fast.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, think to yourself for a moment. The digital trail you've left publicly. Now think of the digital trail that somewhere exists privately. That if people saw it, I would go to jail. I would be thought to be every sort of ist that there is. They would think, oh man, he hates everything, everyone, and that's not true. It's just funny to joke about those things.
Well, I remember
people don't understand.
In the mid 2000s, when I really got into doing commentary at places, like the way I do commentary is typically like I see what happens and it comes out of my mouth, and I don't really retain a lot of things in my brain in that moment.
You don't have
and
a filter.
I learned over time how to train my mouth what to do, but especially early on, like I'm sure there's things I said that should never be aired, and if I ran for county commissioner, I'd probably be raked over the coals. Like,
I'm just wondering if in the future we're gonna have to, because like I even think about like the generations of kids under us that have been leaving a digital trail even longer than we have. Because I mean, our digital trail. Shit, dude. Here's where I'm really gonna show my age. Like my digital trail probably goes back to like the AOL discs we get in the mail. Like that's when I probably first broke out onto the internet scene and started getting into chat rooms, sending pictures of my butt cheeks to people and things like that. Looking for pornography on Kazaa and Morpheus and Napster. All right. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're too young for me, bro. Like, okay. So, and also the thing about getting old is you go off on these tangents and you don't remember what your point was or where you were going.
Right.
Why was I talking about how old I am? See?
Oh, digital trail and like if we ever ran for office and the things that would come up.
Right.
Yeah.
So just in my Kazaa searches, I'm going to jail probably. But I was 15 or 16. You know what I mean? So like, hey, what the fuck? I'm not responsible yet. But no, like the trail that young people are leaving nowadays has to be atrocious, especially of like stupid selfies.
Right.
These thirst trap pics that we all put out there.
Well, I remember I was working at a school when Facebook came out, and it was like, at the time you could put on Facebook your entire class schedule, your home address, your phone number, and I was working. This is how horrible it was. I was working in housing, and I would have to do student conduct work sometimes, and students wouldn't even have a room phone anymore, even if there was a phone provided. So they all had cell phones. Well, we couldn't get their cell phone information. It was like, look them up on Facebook. And that's how I was getting a hold of all my students to come in for meetings to talk to me. Was finding their phone numbers on Facebook.
Hey, that's called being resourceful, Phil.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to become president of wrestling. But yeah, dude, there's no chance with the trail I've left. And I mean, let's just talk about the sheer volume of dick pics that are out there.
Are they your dick pics or others?
Well, both. A lot. There's just a lot. There's too many. There's some outgoing, maybe a few incoming. It's 2020. We don't judge.
Yeah.
and it's my program, goddammit. And I like to remind everybody that as often as effing possible. So other than the few things that you have coming up, sir, other than the few things you have coming up, sir, is there anything you'd like to promote before we take her home here, as they say in the biz?
I am also jumping into the land of streaming. So I pivoted a little bit away from doing interview stuff at the moment because I felt like everybody else in the start of the pandemic jumped on that boat, and I was like, well, now
dude.
Yeah.
Pissed me off thoroughly. That pissed me off thoroughly. I was like, oh, great. Just when I'm getting a little steam doing this now, everybody thinks they're a fucking broadcaster.
Right. And by far, there are some people who should never be in front of a camera or microphone.
We're not going to name names.
That being said, so I've started to do some gaming. So I'm on Destroy All Humans and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I was showing some old Pro Wrestling Unplugged videos and sort of talking it through because it's a bit of like my own personal history in wrestling, and like I kind of grew up a little bit. I hit my teenage years when I hit Pro Wrestling Unplugged. I feel
adolescent career,
right? My wrestling adolescence hit at Pro Wrestling Unplugged, and like watching it because, like I said, like I was doing commentary for most of it. I'm like watching it like this happened. I forgot about that.
That's fun in wrestling. Sometimes you go back and watch stuff that's over a decade old, and you're like,
yeah,
I did this and don't remember it. Awesome. This is new to me.
I forgot. I forgot it for a moment about the white tux, and then I saw it and was like, oh, that's right, I had a white tux. I bleached my hair. I still had hair.
We all had that bleached hair phase.
Yeah.
We somehow thought it was instant heat.
But out of that, I made this post about a week ago that was sort of like some people were saying to me, hey, Phil, you should do like nobody's doing the Mystery Science Theater style review of bad pro wrestling right now. You should do it. And I at first I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yeah, this could be the thing.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Wrestling takes so much heat. Deservedly. I'm not saying it's undeserved.
Yeah.
But it's like, why don't I talk about the good things? And so I put out like a little post about that. And then all of a sudden people were like, hey, do you want my footage to put out there? Hey, I'm a promoter for this company. Do you want to like run my whole show on your stream? Do you want to like do commentaries? Do you just want to talk it over? And I'm like, awesome. Sure.
Being nice isn't entertaining though, you know?
Oh, I'm sure there's jabs I can take at people along the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I can be self-deprecating too. So
yeah.
Like the first time I did game streaming, a friend of mine was watching who also has his own podcast, and he's like, you have a niche and it's self-deprecating humor. Yes.
Yeah.
Shit, but yes.
Yeah, I find a lot of us pro wrestling personalities are very similar to comedians in that regard, where you have to hate yourself a little bit to want to be involved in anything like this.
We're all broken people.
With lots of physical pain for very little money, and also quite a bit of emotional scarring as well.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, hey,
there's a little bit of physical scar. Actually, quite a bit of physical scarring if we really look up top here.
Right.
I'm sure we could dig around and find some shards of glass from
who knows when at this point.
Fucking knows when, man. But yeah, man, it's always fun taking those trips down memory lane.
Well, here's a random memory trip question for you.
Sure.
I was really trying to remember, like, when did I first really meet you? Like, we worked Pro Wrestling Syndicate, but by the time we worked Pro Wrestling Syndicate, which is the first time I really remember like working on events with you, I feel like I was already on events with you because we would talk, and I was like, did we do WXW in the day? Maybe that's how we met each other.
WXW. I'm trying to think of what years as well. Did you do anything in Delaware or Maryland? Like EWA or EAW, was it? No, EWA.
EWA, yeah. At the time, no. Like I live in Maryland now. I was from Maryland, but I could never find work in Maryland until MCW about 4 years ago.
Right, and I didn't see it like DCW or nothing like that. It could have been a little bit of
like the
WXW either.
Maybe there were so many random one-time jersey spots. Like maybe that. Oh, did you ever work for was it Carmine Sabia who was who had agoraphobia?
Maybe one time.
Okay.
I know I was at some like awful Jersey show one time where like they didn't have pads for the ring. Like I don't know if you were at that show.
Did the ring break too on that show?
It possibly did. I definitely wasn't paying attention after the match.
We had to
I
take the
only
padding
got
from like the wrestling room. We stole wrestling mats.
maybe. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm telling you right now, there was no pads whatsoever. It was like canvas and wood, and then
Ooh.
yeah. So I don't think I took any bumps other than like an arm drag or two, which I could safely do without dying. But that may have been a show of his, but the name rings a bell, but I don't know him, obviously, because he never came out of his house.
Yeah. But one of my first, I don't know. I must have only been a couple years like actively in wrestling. I had been in wrestling in the back and then moved into being a wrestler. And then I remember going to this event in New Jersey, and we delayed the start of the event by an hour because they were running a three-way dance through. It was Sean Sheridan and these two other guys whose now I can't remember, and they were running the ropes, and the corner post broke, like the whole frame broke off. So they delay the show an hour. This is how old it is. Crowbar and Chris Candido go to a hardware store.
Wow.
And like are buying like cables and ropes and like anything they can to hold the ring together.
Jeez, oh man.
So now we start the event an hour late, start going. We get to that same third match, the same spot. They break the opposite weld on the ring. And so the next match, I think, became like a false count anywhere match. Then I think there was a hardcore match, and then they have intermission for an hour as they go back to the hardware store to find more parts to fix the opposite piece of the ring. It was me, green as goose shit, Phil Stamper. I look over. I'm near like the entranceway. I look over, and I am like, the entranceway is about to fall down. And it's next to like these bleachers in a high school. And I go up the bleachers and I'm holding the entranceway in place while I'm standing on a part of the entrance curtain.
Oh my God.
So somebody who's standing in the entranceway sees that like the curtain's been bunched up, and they pull it. Well, they pull me with it, and I land on top of the Iron Sheik. Who by that point I think may have been enjoying his evening rather well.
Right. As he often does.
Right. He laughed it off. He bought me a drink at the bar later. Like, and he gave me a signed photograph of him and Steve Austin, like, two WW World Champions. I don't think there was an E or an F. I think it's a WW World Champions. And I think he may have signed Steve Austin's name on it too, I think. But hey.
Hey, you know.
It was like Christ. Ryan Wenzel and Inferno and Iron Sheik, who like Iron Sheik. Even I mean, this is like early mid-ish 2000s maybe, and like Iron Sheik even then, you know, not the spring chicken.
I was just thinking as well. Like I'm envisioning you in some blue gear. Were you in Canada before with us?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you work Lucky in them?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were on one of those IWS shows with me and Nell. So we at least met back in 2005.
That would be right.
I mean, so we at least met then, but obviously met each other several times over the years.
It was Lucky and I versus Cheech and Cloudy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I literally started to think about you in that blue gear. You had him in some sort of submission with like his feet locked in your armpits, and you had his arms pulled back, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, dude, it's weird how your brain can unlock folders. Like there's
Right.
folders that if we weren't talking right now and I wasn't digging through those files, these would be lost forever.
Right.
So what the fuck is that, dude? Like, I know we're trying to take it home here, but what the fuck is that? Because it happens all the time.
It's like an archival mechanism because you don't need that in the front of your foreknowledge to be able to function, to work, to do the things you regularly do. So, okay, it stores back here. And then even in the workplace, even if you're super ridiculously active and doing stuff all the time, when you get two people together and you start working on a project, all of a sudden these ideas start coming together.
Right.
Because of that, synergistic thought that just like,
Whoa.
happenstance that the two of you are having a conversation starts building a combination of things that never would have come to fruition with only one person.
Don't be saying synergistic on my podcast. All right, the bar is not that high on my program. Okay, for my viewers.
Well, I mean, I've been really good to try to hide my hick voice, so like I can just relax it and be like, y'all, when y'all come together, and the two of you,
My daddy says Jesus is Lord. Okay,
yeah,
my daddy said,
amen. And when he says, I'm gonna grab the stick off the tree unless you fix this now. You will fix this now.
now. Okay, not now. Now.
Now.
But
It's 3 syllables. The word now. Meow.
Now. You're gonna fix it now.
Right.
Before we do get out of here, I want to make it very clear that despite the name of this episode being "Make Pro Wrestling Great Again," I think it goes without saying, and stop me if I'm wrong, Phil nor myself support Donald Trump and will not be voting red in November. So don't hate us. It was just funny because he's the president of wrestling. You get it? Make pro wrestling great again.
I have tried so hard when I do stuff as the president of wrestling that never comes out. From like other people have tried to pitch that for like whole storyline arcs, and I'm like, you will not. I am not done. You will not make that comparison here. I am the smartest president in the United States today.
And that is not saying much, sir. But
168 IQ, 3 college degrees. My name is Phil Stamper, and I'm the president of wrestling.
And you can follow him on Twitter at
PS Phenom. That's PSPHENOM.
And what about, is that the same for the IGs?
That's the same for Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitch, YouTube. I'm sure there's other. I had like WePay that was in China. Like if you look up a social media that has PSPHENOM, PS Phenom, you will find me.
And I'm gonna pretend that you didn't say TikTok, and we're gonna say, folks, have a good night, and if not, go fuck yourself.